Money with Secure Money. I'm Rebecca Powers. So happy to be here with Brian Quaranta of Secure Money Advisors. Good to see you.
Rebecca, good to see you as always.
We get so many calls, so many emails asking questions, people that need to come to see you. One lady from Sewickley said, is it true in your book how you say that it's very simple? There are simple 5 steps. Let's talk about those chapters in the book a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So, well, first off, I wrote the book kind of in response to what's been going on in the marketplace.
Yeah.
This isn't a book I wrote 10 years ago, so it's a current book that really helps simplify the planning process. Because what I've learned in working with so many people over the years, 20 plus years now of sitting in conference rooms and listening to people and what their concerns are, a lot of the things that I would hear on a week-to-week basis were relatively the same. So, for example, the primary concerns that people most likely will have when they come in is they're not sure when to collect their Social Security. They're not even sure when or how they're going to retire. They will tell me that they can't afford another market loss because they just don't have the time to recover. They're not getting pensions, and they're going to need to take money from their investments, and they're not sure how to do it. So I laid out a very simple planning guide to help people reduce risk and maximize the income they get in retirement. Because when you really think about it, the one thing that we're all trying to do with the money that we save every single month, every single year, is we're trying to get to a point to where we accumulate a sum of money. Okay, well, that's great. What happens when you've accumulated that sum of money?
Yeah.
Now what? What is it supposed to do for you? And I don't think we ask ourselves good enough questions, and we just kind of keep doing things with the money that probably are not in line with what you actually need the money to do, like keep rolling the dice in the stock market. So, for example, you go, okay, I got this pile of money. Now what does the money need to do for me? Well, if I'm no longer going to go to work, and I no longer am going to get a paycheck, and I no longer have to trade my time for money, I still need money to live on a monthly basis.
Right, and pay the bills.
And pay the bills, and have the money to go on vacations and spend time with the grandkids, and whatever your bucket list things are, we all have them. How are you going to accomplish that? And when you look at the tools and the technology that we've been taught to use, in this case, stocks and mutual funds and bonds, as long as everything's going up, you really have nothing to worry about. But we know that the markets do not go straight up, and we don't control what the markets do. The markets do what they're going to do. But there are things that impact the market, like the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, right? That causes typically stocks to not perform well, but it also causes bonds to not perform well. So in the book, I lay out the 5 key areas that you absolutely must cover with your retirement planning strategy. Number 1, and most importantly, is going to be income.
Yeah.
Number 2 is a tax strategy. And we've got a plan for tax strategies. Tax strategies just don't happen in April when you meet with your tax accountant.
Right, that's looking at the year past. We want to look at the rest of your life.
That's right, the rest of your life, right? And you're going to hit different milestones. Number 3 is making sure that at this point in your life, meaning if you're 55 and older, the investments that you are using to grow your money are not the same investment strategies that you're going to use when you need to start using your money on a monthly basis. And then, of course, we all have to deal with the fact that we're going to get older, right? And, the statistics are pretty alarming when you think that 1 in 3 people will get Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
1 in 2 will probably need some type of skilled care. So what are we going to do when we have a health event? How are we going to handle that? How are we going to pay for that? Because Medicare is a very interesting animal in the way that it pays for certain things.
That is very shocking.
It's shocking
for people when you think, oh, I've got Medicare, I got to that age. It depends on your income.
Right.
Right?
Correct.
It depends. You get A or B or C, and it covers this and not that. It's extremely complicated. I don't think we're expected to understand it.
No, we're not. And the thing is, we could have somebody walk into this studio right now and fall over of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And we could have them life flighted out of here, go to the hospital, that individual could go in for surgery, have a stent put in, stay in the hospital for a few weeks, and Medicare will cover it all.
Right.
We could have this same person walk in and fall over of a stroke, and Medicare is only going to pay for 90 days of coverage. So now they're on their own.
Doesn't make
right?
sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So we better have a plan for making sure that we have a way to handle a health event. And of course, the last one is just making sure that we have a good estate plan. And I go through all of this in the book in detail, but I've laid it out in a very simple to easy to understand format, and it's called Right Track Your Retirement. Because the number one question I always got was,
am I on the right track?
Am I on the right track?
Yeah. And how do you even begin to know if you can retire if you have no idea how much you need?
Yeah.
So there's number one.
Right.
Where do you get that income from? Let's talk about those different buckets.
Yeah, so that's a great question, because one of the things that I see that's missing most in people's retirement plan,
or lack thereof a plan,
is actually the plan that's missing, right?
Right.
I always say, people come in with their POS. That stands for pile of stuff.
or something else.
Yeah, or something else. But there's no plan. So a lot of times you'll meet people and they might have a 401k with, this old employer, and they've got some money at the bank, and they've got, a pension that they might be getting, and it's, splintered and splattered everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, how do we actually bring that all together and actually make a cohesive plan that starts to work for you? So the number one step is figuring out where are your income sources going to be coming from. Now, I always say you got to run your retirement like you'd run a business, right?
Absolutely.
It's money in and money out. So you better know where that money's coming in from and when it's going out.
And then an emergency fund in case something else happens, worst case scenario. I like how you kind of play out all the what ifs.
You have to.
On paper.
You have to. I always say, let's make the bad things happen on paper. Because if we make the bad things happen on paper, now we can have a plan.
Right.
And now we're being proactive and not reactive.
Right.
And let me tell you, if you're a married couple out there today, the last thing that you want to be doing is making difficult financial decisions when your spouse is no longer around. And this is why one of the things that we do in our conference room in a planning session is, if you're married, we kill your husband for you. We bring him back to life. Don't worry about it. Now, some women like that, but we got to see. It depends, right? So we can kill your husband for you, but we're doing that because we want to see what the drop in income is, right?
Right.
And then, of course, what happens if your wife dies first? What's the drop of income? Now, according to AARP, the average loss of income for a married couple in the United States today is 40%.
Wow.
So that means when your spouse dies, you're taking a 40% drop in income. So what are you going to do? How are you going to handle that? So that is a scenario that we have to go through, right? And we have to see what that drop in income would be. But for a lot of people, Rebecca, the biggest thing we've got to cover while they're both living, so that they can live the retirement that they want to live and do the things that they want to do, is most people are going to need money above and beyond what they're getting in Social Security, because nobody's getting pensions anymore.
Right. And Social Security might not be funded, so we need to kind of worry about that. I think till 2035, I saw in Wall Street Journal that it may go down to 77%.
Yeah, so
what you're going to get.
Right. So what she's talking about, folks, is actually, I believe it's 2035, somewhere around there. You can see on your Social Security statement, but it says that Social Security is going to start paying out more in benefits than they're actually taking in taxes. So what's going to be the solution there? Some people have talked about, reducing Social Security benefits. Now, I think that would be absolute political suicide for anybody to vote that in.
Right.
But what happens if that did happen? How are we going to handle that? Because you're going to need to make up that income from somewhere, right? So people need to have a plan. And this is why I created the Right Track Retirement System. Right? So folks, what I want you to do today is take advantage of our Right Track Retirement Review. It really is designed to help give you clarity and peace of mind going into retirement, or if you're already in retirement, to get yourself that peace of mind. If you have anxieties and worries about the ups and downs of the market and what's going on in the economy and what's going on around the world, I promise you there is a better way to approach this to give yourself better peace of mind. So call us today and schedule your Right Track Retirement Review. You got to call 1-888-382-1298. My team's going to be standing by to take your call and get you scheduled. And when you call in this schedule, I'm going to give you a copy of my book, complimentary, Right Track Your Retirement, where I go through in detail. I want you to have it before you come in. Go through it, read it, mark it up, highlight it, and you're going to learn a lot just in that book alone, and it's really going to prepare you for your appointment when you come in. So call us today and schedule your Right Track Retirement Review, 1-888-382-1298. 888-888-1298.
And Brian did a great job of keeping it very short, very simple. I promise I don't even like to read, and it was a very easy, about an hour and a half read. And he will even pay for the postage and handling, since he really wants to share this information. There's a number on your screen. Don't forget your QR code. Have your calendar ready. Let's get you an appointment to meet Brian and his amazing team at Secure Money Advisors. We'll be right back.
See, everybody can tell you how to invest your money. There's not a lot of people out there and a lot of firms that can teach you how to use your money. Most people will also tell you that they're scared. And the reason they're scared is because they're afraid of running out of money.
The last thing you want to do is have a really good job into your 60s, retire, and be looking for work again in your late 70s.
The average person might say, well, a good portfolio would be a good mix of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. No. A good portfolio is all designed around the 5 key areas: income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning.
We're not just product pickers here. What we do best here is we build retirement plans.
9 out of 10 people, when they walk through the door, would ask us, we just want to know if we're on the right track. And I always say, if you're not on the right track, when would be a good time to know it? Probably now.
People, can actually see a vision once we start to really build out their plan.
This is about you. If you're not getting what you need, and you feel that when you walk out of the advisor's office, it's time to get a second opinion. And you can't get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first opinion. The difference at Secure Money Advisors, as a fiduciary firm, we help you manage the risk, build the income, and give you the retirement you dreamed of.
Welcome back to On the Money with Secure Money. The name of the show is because we want to keep your money secure. And of course, Brian, you named your company Secure Money Advisors.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like secure is the money, especially is the word, I should say, especially with what's going on in the news? I think you were kind of prophetic using that word. That's what we all need, right?
Yeah. Well, I just believe in safety first. I look at, you go back 20 plus years ago when I got into the financial industry, right around 1999.
Yeah.
I saw people lose a lot of money when the tech bubble had bursted. I was working for a big box firm at the time, and I just didn't like seeing the way that things were handled. When people would lose money, the culture there, and the culture still in the industry, is to tell people, don't worry about it, hang in there, you're in it for the long haul, you're going to be fine. And, that's not a plan. That's not a solution, because nobody knows if hanging in there for the long haul is going to work.
Especially if you're 75.
Especially if you're 75.
Yeah, you don't have that long haul.
Yeah, if you're saying that to a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old or maybe even a 50-year-old, you might, that might have some validity to it. But, when you're telling people that are, 65, 70, don't worry about it, hang in there, you're in it for the long haul. These are folks that are at they're in retirement. They're needing their money right now. So there is no long haul, right? They need money right now. I always ask, I say, does anybody ever wonder when the long haul ever ends, by the way?
Right.
If you're getting that answer from your advisor, don't worry about it, hang in there, you're in it for the long haul. I would like to know, when does the long haul ever end? It doesn't. So, at the end of the day, it's just really, really important that you have a really well thought out plan. And my philosophy at my firm has always been safety first, protect some money, because once you protect a portion of the money that you've accumulated, right, now you really give yourself peace of mind, because market volatility really doesn't become that big of an issue, because the money that you are keeping in the market is really long-term money, because you've protected maybe the first 10 or 20 years of your retirement by creating what I call a buffer account or a safe account. Yeah.
And so you have a story, actually, and I know we shared it a few weeks ago, but you used to work for a big box retailer, those big names that spend a whole bunch of money, sponsoring the U.S. Open and all these big events. And they told you, tell them that story about, the guy on the phone. Just tell them to hang in there.
So I took a call. I was, just getting into the financial industry at the point. And again, it was at the end of '99. The markets were dropping. I had just passed my financial exam, and just because you've passed a financial exam does not mean you're ready to be a financial advisor.
Right, so you're what, in your 20s at the time?
Yeah, I'm in my early 20s, maybe 23, 24, somewhere around there. And they've got me on the floor answering phone calls, right? And they're just servicing calls coming in. But I take a call from a guy that's pretty upset. And he says, I'm calling today because I want to sell all my investments I want out of the market today. And I said, okay, now, again, I'm new at this point, so I don't have the authority to go in and execute a trade and sell. So I said, okay, no problem. I said, hold on. So I go find the financial advisor that, this individual's working with. And I went to the advisor and I said, look, you've got a client on the phone. He's pretty upset. He wants to sell. He wants to liquidate and put everything into cash. And the advisor looks at me. Rather than getting on the phone with his own client, he looks at me and says,
so wrong.
Brian, you need to get back on the phone with him and let him know that everything's going to be fine. Just tell him to hang in there and remind him that he's in it for the long haul. So, embarrassingly, I admit that I went back as a good employee and I told the individual what the advisor told me to say. And what he said to me next, what that individual said to me next, is why I created Secure Money Advisors. He said, Brian, I'm 75 years old. How much damn long haul do you think I got left?
Yeah.
And that changed my life because he was 100% right. He couldn't afford to take that risk. And what I learned was this: it's really easy to tell somebody else to take risk with their money.
Exactly.
Especially when you were getting paid a commission to do it.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And this is why when I started Secure Money Advisors, we wanted to go the fiduciary route where we're not commission-based, we're fee-based, right? The fiduciary standard is the highest standard that you're held to in the industry.
The
which
best
means
interest of the client.
best interest of the client.
Yes.
So, but Secure Money Advisors was built around my frustrations of the financial industry because I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth.
Right.
My mom and dad worked really hard for their money.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want somebody just rolling the dice with their money.
That's right.
And that's what I kept seeing at the firms, is that they felt that it was okay to just roll the dice.
It was a great lesson very early on because some people
Yeah.
will be with a big box retailer and kind of miserable and feel that same, like I'm just shoving those same products, only the products that we offer down their throats.
Yes.
Independents like yourself, a fiduciary, you can look at any product in the world. And we talk about products, let's give examples. What does that mean?
Yeah, products products come in all shapes and sizes. I mean, you've got, individual mutual funds, you got individual stocks, you got individual bonds.
I'm in a great annuity right now and I sleep at night, no risk.
You got annuities.
Yeah.
You have ETFs. I mean, I can go on and on and on of all the different financial products out there. And the thing is, every financial product serves a purpose. The question is, what are your concerns? What are your challenges? What are the problems you're dealing with? And what is it that you need your money to do?
We have to give it a job. I love that you explain it that way.
That's right. And that's why in my book, Right Track Your Retirement, I write about my bucketing approach, which identifies the purpose of the money in each of these buckets. So now think about, rather than having all of your money in this one investment area, right? You're actually taking pieces of that money and you're identifying the purpose of it and you're applying it to go to work in certain areas. And when people read that in my book and they start to understand it, they go, wow, this is really simple and easy to understand. But yes, there's all kinds of different products. I mean, I know you own an annuity. I own an annuity. And the reason I do is because there's money that I just don't want to risk.
Right.
Right? And an annuity is a great place for me to put money over time that I can not only protect it, but when I go to retire, it creates my own private pension.
Exactly.
So when I go to retire, all that money in the annuity that I have for my wife
still
and I,
there.
it's still there. It's never going to go down in value because of market volatility, and it's going to pay me a guaranteed income for the rest of my life. And if I die, it's going to continue to pay an income to my wife's life. So why in the world? This is why when the Secure Act was brought into law, which I'm
a
not
few
gonna
years ago.
a few years ago, one of the parts of the Secure Act was to start allowing annuities to be part of 401k plans, because we need a place for people to be able to put money where it can be protected. But more importantly, mutual funds and individual mutual funds and bonds that are typically found in 401ks, those are not products. Those are not financial products that provide income. They're just not.
Gotcha.
So folks, this is why I wrote the Right Track Retirement book. This is why I created the Right Track Retirement system, because I want you to have this information. And I want you to come in and take advantage of a complimentary, no obligation Right Track Retirement review, where my team and I will sit down and go through your situation in detail. We're going to go through the 5 key areas with you: income, taxes, investments, your healthcare strategy, and your estate planning strategy. You will get a lot of clarity and a lot of benefit from this meeting, but you got to do your part. You've got to pick up the phone. You've got to call us. This is not the time to keep your head in the sand, kick the can down the road, call us today and schedule 1-888-382-1298. Again, it's 1-888-382-1298.
And we promise this is no heavy sales pitch. Leave your checkbook at home. It's really just to get to know you, ask your goals and dreams, no obligation, no cost at all. Don't you want a second opinion? You may be on the right track, but it's good to find out. Stay with us. More with Brian Quaranta right after this.
If I could help you increase your income, if I could help you pay less taxes, if I could help you potentially maximize the returns of your investments while reducing risk, reducing fees, if I could help you prepare for a health event, or more importantly, when the good Lord decides to take you home, to make sure that the money you've accumulated over your lifetime goes to your family and to your charities rather than the IRS, would that be worth the time to come in and get a second opinion?
All right, welcome back to On the Money with Secure Money. The name of the show is Secure Money because you had an experience in your early 20s when you first began that you knew that people were risking just rolling the dice with their money. How do you get it if someone's at home right now saying, how do I get my money out of the stock market?
Yeah.
Because when you watch the news, it is sickening.
Yeah.
So how do you move that money out of the stock market and make it work for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first off, I mean, it depends on where people are at. I mean, if you've got somebody that is still employed with their employer and all of their money is sitting in their, company 401k plan, they might not have the option of moving that money out and going to someplace safer because they're stuck in that 401k plan unless...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Unless they are of a qualifying age. So for example, I was working with a couple last week and, they had called our office a couple years ago, but they were at a point to where they really couldn't do anything because they were not of a qualifying age, but they finally reached the age of 59 and a half. And at 59 and a half, the IRS allows you to do something called an in-service rollover from your 401k plan to a individual retirement account. No taxes, no penalties when you do that, and it doesn't close your company 401k. You still get your matching, you can still put money in, but you can get those chips off the table and get them into a place to where your retirement can be protected, right?
But when you leave your job, you're allowed.
Yes, no
move
matter
the
what
401k.
age, but if you're still working, right?
Gotcha.
59 and a half is a big day.
Yeah.
Because that's when you can do this in-service withdrawal.
Such a random number. Where do they come up with this stuff?
Yeah, right. It's like
59 3/4.
Yeah. And why is it that I have to start taking money out of my retirement account at 72? So, it's government math is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, fuzzy math. So if you leave this job and go to another job, does your 401k follow you or it closes?
So if you leave your job and you go to another job, your 401k is going to stay where it's at your old employer.
But you are able to convert it.
But you are
even if you're not 59.
Even if you're not 59
and a half.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, you could be
so that's
45.
Good.
You could move it, right?
Yes.
So the question was, how do people get their money out of the market? Well, it depends on where it's at. If it's just with another advisory firm, that's easy. I mean, you can very easily move from point A to point B and change who you're working with, right? But at the end of the day, before you do those things, you really should have an analysis done to figure out, if you are going to make changes, which, by the way, during down markets is one of the best times to look at making changes.
Why?
Well, because the economic environment has changed, right? Think about just where interest rates are. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, interest rates continue to climb and climb and climb and climb. That is not a good thing for the bond market. This is why we have the worst bond market in over 40 years. But yet, if you look at the basic fundamental principles that a lot of the big box firms follow for a lot of their clients, when their clients get older, they typically move more of their money to bonds. And in fact, what they're doing right now is creating a bigger problem for their older clients by moving them to something that would traditionally be looked at as relatively safe, because as interest rates go up, bond prices go down. So if the box firms are moving them to bonds, guess what's happening? Their account values are going down. So there's no safety there.
So historically, bonds would be up, stocks would be down, and vice versa.
Yes.
And that's kind of the beautiful balance.
Yes.
But that's over. That game is done.
Yes,
so.
it's a perfect storm right now. It's a perfect storm. So this is, stocks and bonds are typically what we consider non-correlated assets, right? That means when one's going up, one's going down, this one's going up, this one's going down, right?
Okay.
They're both correlated right now, meaning they're both going down. So you have to look for alternative places right now. You know, one of the alternative places that we're using is just fixed and indexed annuities because
I love that.
We can get guaranteed rates, 3-year rates, 4-year rates, 5-year rates, 7-year rates at 4.5. You know, we'll probably see them even go to 5% soon.
And that's
with the interest locked in, guaranteed, no different than a bank CD. The only difference is it's with an insurance company, not a bank. And people just need to get over the word annuity because it's not a dirty word. You know, as a matter of fact, it's a really beautiful word because the reason why it's called an annuity is because it has the ability to do something called annuitization. Right? So what annuitization means is that if I have a sum of money in an annuity, at any point in time I could annuitize that and turn it into income. And when you annuitize, it can actually protect that money from a nursing home potentially if it's done correctly. Now, we don't typically ever recommend annuitizing because you give up control of your money when you do that. But in some circumstances, like if you're going to lose, if you're going to lose it to the nursing homes anyway, it might be a good option. But most annuities today will always allow you to have access to your money, and you can always take all the money out if you want.
Is it immediate? I mean, if you have an emergency, you need a new roof, can you take call and say I need $25,000 out of the annuity?
There's an annuity we work with right now that, you know, I just had a guy put $500,000 into it, okay? He's getting over a 4% rate of return on that money. So think about it, he's earning over $20,000 a year in interest. He's taking that interest out every year as additional income, never touching his principal. Oh, and by the way, if he needs more money than just the interest, day one, he can take up to $50,000, which is 10%.
And it's tax-free.
Well, not in this case because it would be in his IRA. So, you know, the annuity being in his IRA when it came out, right? Now, if that was in a Roth IRA, it could be potentially tax-free, okay? But the annuity in the next year would let him take out $100,000. And then in 5 years, he could be done and walk away. He could say, you know what, I no longer want it. I'm going to take 100% of my money and walk away.
And it's spelled out. You have in writing exactly what will happen.
It's in black and white. There's no moving parts. A contract is one of the best things that you can get. Have you ever read a prospectus? Well, when we come back, I will share with you.
Well, we're actually out of time, so it'll be next week,
folks. But I want you to schedule your Right Track Retirement Review because these are the types of things that we can go over when you come into the office. So call 1-888-382-1298 and schedule your Right Track Retirement Review with us today.
And you can also do a Zoom call if you'd rather just do like that and get a copy of that book. And thanks for joining us. We're out of time. We'll see you again next week.